What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Film Session. Nail slot rim, Mike Woodson's signature defense. We've all heard it, we all kind of know it. While Indiana didn't employ the coverage for every middle ball screen during the battle for Atlantis, today's film session mostly centers around the Providence game. The Hoosiers had trouble with those that did. The help defense off the wing appears to be more aggressive than last season, and Indiana was often lost from that initial inflection point. Players didn't know where to be, hands went up in the air in resignation and frustration. Indiana simply abandoned the coverage as the second half wore on against the Friars. It wasn't working. And to boot, their nail slot rim troubles were just one of Indiana's many defensive issues during its 3-day run in the Bahamas. Let's dive in. We're going to start against Gonzaga. Late in the game, Goody brings help off the wing to stop the dribble penetration on the ball screen. That leaves his initial man open on the wing, with Mbako in position to rotate up to the shooter. He does so a little late and the shot drops. Not much later, the broadcast caught Woodson and Mbako chatting about the play, and best I can tell, Woodson is telling him he shouldn't stay low and he needs to come out to the shooter, while Mbako explained why he didn't. It's just our first example of Indiana being out of sync here. Onwards to Providence. Here's Rice pretty aggressively helping off his man at the top of the key, angled away from easily popping back out to him. As such, it's Goody about to rotate up. But here's where things get weird. As the shot goes up, Goody pops down to the corner and completely leaves the shooter, leading to a wide open 3-point make. Afterwards, we can see Goody frustrated, as it seems he was expecting something different from Mbako. This next play helps explain it. It's now Tucker bringing the help, but we now see Cups instruct Tucker off the ball to the wing. But with Galloway already coming up to the wing, we see Tucker chase down Galloway's man, going across the baseline, employing a switch. This seems a little more in line with what Indiana is trying to do once it sends the aggressive help, and it worked out this time around. This more clearly illustrates what's going on here. It seems like Indiana is essentially looking to peel switch to the wing, which means Rice, who is guarding the ball handler, rotates out there. But here's how much Indiana is confused. Galloway, from the block position, is also rotating out to the shooter. As both players recognize it, they both think the other is going to stay, and they both start going to the player in the corner, allowing another wide open look. Here, Indiana doesn't really need to bring the help with Providence not attempting to go downhill, but it does anyway. This time around, it appears Rice at least attempts to communicate that he's going to be the one to pop out to the wing. But with English instructing his player in the corner to cut to the opposite corner, Mbako switches now really far, allowing a good look for Providence. Here's at least another possession Indiana was in sync. Mbako and Galloway execute a switch, and even though a three-pointer goes up, there isn't any mass confusion. But just as that happens, we see English's counter really put Indiana in a pickle. They again send the player to the opposite corner, and the ball handler doesn't come left, he stays right. This means Renew is now tasked with keeping an eye on the left wing and the right corner at the same time, with Mbako aggressively helping up top. Providence stays right, makes the pass, and they connect. Indiana appears to be running two separate coverages here. We see Renew and Balo switch on the initial ball screen, but Rice is also there on the help. As such, Balo is confused and then is in no man's land. He isn't helping or switching on the wing or in the corner, and it's now Mbako playing a zone between both Friars. The shot misses, but in typical IU fashion, they give up the offensive board and the Friars connect on the next one. As the second half wore on, Indiana eased off the aggressive help. Here Goody is playing more in between and not up as high. But as he further moves towards the ball, it's a simple one pass away for a pretty good 3-point look that doesn't drop. And later, we see Indiana abandon the help altogether. Here, Tucker stays home, Balo drops. And as Rice funnels the ball handler to Renew's stunt, Renew has an easier closeout to the corner because there's less ground to cover than out to the wing. It's also only one player having to rotate instead of a couple. It's the strongest closeout of the film session, and you wonder why Woodson didn't move to keep things more simple and traditional like this, when it was clear the other nail slot rim coverage had his players completely out of sorts for a lot of the second half here. And that's all she wrote for this edition of Film Session.